Hey everyone, Dockwell here, and welcome to another video. Today's video is going to be the Offlane tier list for patch 7.33c, and as always, like I say in the other videos, I got my stats from the Trends tab, from Dota Buff, Dota 2 Pro Tracker, and the Pro Games. I kind of mash all those stats together, and I make my own list based on pubs, kind of for pubs, not really for the high-level stuff, although they set the meta. I kind of just go with that and then put my own twist to it. So that's how I arrived at this list. So without further ado, let's just get into the first tier, the S tier. And S tier, far and away, I think, is going to be Legion Commander. Honestly, I might put Legion Commander. I would have put Legion Commander on her own tier, like, aside from these heroes, just because Legion is insane. I think maybe not for, you know, immortal pubs or high immortal, although I think she is still good. I think that this hero is #1 offlane pub stomp hero, like, not even close. Like, it's just not close. You pick this hero, if every game you pick this hero. If you play offlane, if you have the thing up here on your screen that says offlane, okay, and this hero is not banned, you pick it. Period. End of story. Like, you just do. It doesn't matter. No other hero. I don't care. I don't care anything. No reason not to pick this hero. It is completely broken. It is the best hero on the offlane right now. It might be the best hero in Dota, honestly. Like, I just feel like this hero is so freaking good. Maybe not for, like I said, 6, 7, 8K. 10K pubs, but maybe not in the pros. But this hero is broken in every other bracket because they fixed the fundamental problem with the hero. And what was the fundamental problem with the hero? The problem was this spell gave you attack speed and healed you and was the dispel thing. And you had to, like, double press it before, you know, you dueled. So you had to press this, you had to press your blade mail, all that kind of stuff. But then this spell was like the damage spell. So that's weird because you kind of want to do damage in the lane by, you know, hitting the creeps in the enemy, but you don't really want to max this unless there's like a illusion player, you know, illusion carry or something, because this gives you the attack speed. It's the dispel. It's just so weird. But then you also want to max this because, you know, it gives you lifesteal. It's how you trade, blah, blah, blah. Well, now they fixed it because this does damage, and now this is what gives you attack speed. This is your, like, dispel healing spell that gives you move speed. So it's like, this is the escape thing. This is what helps you and your allies escape. Because this gave you move speed too, which is like, what? Why would I, like, that's so weird. So now, they just swapped attack and move speed, and it's perfect. It's exactly what you need. So now you just, like, ignore the spell completely, unless you need 1 point in it to, like, get rid of Venomancer Gale or something weird like that. And then you just, like, max this, and you put points in this to trade, and you are just a god. This spell is insane. It does so much damage. Like, if you have there was a clip I could probably show. I probably won't, though. Too lazy to edit it in. But from a game I played where a Legion, like, TP'd into the safe lane or whatever, and ran up to a bunch of players fighting, and there was like 4 enemies and a bunch of creeps standing there. She just pressed the spell, and every single one of them died except for one, and then she dueled that person, and she got like an ultra kill at like minute like 8, or probably 12 or something. I don't know, but it was insane. Like, this does so much damage, but now it's the thing you max every time, obviously, and you don't even need to press it before you duel. So you can just, you jump in. So literally all you do is you just press blade mail, blink in, duel them, and then you can press this because you do damage to them. And if they're around creeps, which is great because that's awesome, you do even more damage to the person you're dueling, and you get the extra attack speed. So it's exactly perfect. Like, it just makes the hero so much easier to play, but also just synergizes so much better, and it's perfect, exactly what needed to happen to make this hero actually normal and somewhat reasonable. And the fact that they didn't do this earlier just kind of, it just feels correct. This is just how it should have always been, and the fact that it wasn't this way just feels super weird. But now it's broken. Like, you just win every lane. You just literally don't lose lanes. I mean, you might lose lanes to, like, ranged heroes, which is the problem, because there is Medusa, there is Wind Ranger. Like, you're not the best against them. But you don't really lose the lane anyway, even against them. I mean, Drow's not good. Some of these other heroes aren't good. But you win lanes against pretty much every melee hero. Or at least, like, draw even enough, even against the strong ranged ones, that you just get your items, and then, you know, you get your blade mail, you get your blink. I usually go blade mail first just because that's stronger in lane, and then I can just push the tower and, like, I can farm, and then once I can get a quicker blink timing, like blink blade mail timing with that, and I don't necessarily need blink early. Like, I don't really mind not getting that until a little bit later, because this hero is such a good laning stage. Like, you don't necessarily have to rush blink early, but you can if you want. If you feel like, you know, you're not having the best lane, you just want to get duels and stuff, that's fine too. But you can always, like, TP to mid, TP to safe lane, whatever, to get that duel or two. And then you obviously, at level 10, you get your 8 bonus duel damage, and you just like fly up in damage. Like every single time this spell's off cooldown, every minute, you just get another duel, like guaranteed. The only thing that the enemy can do is just stand as 5. The map is so big that, you know, they're just losing out on so much farm, and you just kind of sit in a lane. Like before, I think this hero, you used to have to kind of push lanes, but you needed the lanes to be pushed, but you didn't want to show and all this stuff. Now it doesn't even matter now. You can just sit like in the jungle, get like free farm, and then if they ever show to a lane, like one of them, you just duel them and they die. And half the time it doesn't even matter if the enemy's there either, unless they're like all 5 there and they stun you, because you just like duel a support and they're just dead, or you duel the carry and they're just dead early. Like it just doesn't matter. And they're not going to be as 5 after from like 12 to 20 minutes. Like they're just not. And if they are, they should lose. So anyway, that's Legion. I know I spent a ton of time talking about her, but she's broken. She's just so good, and you just get insane damage. Like I 1v9'd a game where, well, it was like a 2v8. It was me and my support. The support in the lane was a tiny, and he like went carry items because the rest of my team was so bad, and we just literally won because I had like 700 damage. It was insane. So that's Legion. Next is Batrider's really good because they buffed the Flame Break. I think I maybe already talked about this mid a little bit, but not as much, because this hero is just like better as an offlaner now, I think. They buffed Flame Break. It does like more ticks and slows and stuff. It's a universal hero, so his right-click damage is like fine. You like don't need sticky napalm as much. Like you're not relying on just spamming this as much as you used to, whether it's to get CS or it's to harass the enemy. Like you can just use this hero with its other spells and be very good, and that's the thing. And I actually haven't mentioned it yet in either one of the tier lists, but the big thing that this hero benefits from, and a lot of other heroes in this patch benefit from, is the Vanguard like buff. And it's just because Vanguard's really good in and of itself, but now it also disassembles into Octarine Core, and this is probably one of the heroes that is really good with that, because you have like a super low cooldown ultimate. I mean, 60 seconds max level, but obviously 90 seconds first level, but still, like when you get this Octarine Core really early, it's like this hero, Doom, a lot of these things, it allows you to build into this tanky build where now you're doing a ton of damage with your normal spells. You have Vanguard, so it's like you can't die, and you're just like running people over, and then you get this low cooldown ultimate where your Firefly's up like constantly. This thing's up all the time, like you're just killing people off cooldown. It's ridiculous how good this hero is because of that. So it's mainly because they changed the spells, they made it better. It is universal, so every universal hero is pretty good right now. And then the Octarine, like Vanguard into Octarine buff is also why that hero is really good. And then lastly, in S tier, we have Spirit Breaker. They just, like, in the last patch, if you just go and read it, they just buffed, like, everything about the hero. They made the hero just way better. So it doesn't do anything different than Spirit Breaker has always done. I mean, it charges you. It's like you can't be on the map. It's kind of like Legion in the way. You can't be on the map alone. You're just going to get charged. It has insane status resistance. So, like, you're charging in, you're super fast, and then the stuns do nothing to you. So, actually, this is, in some ways, a counter to Legion in the sense that if you have this Bulldoze on, like, the duel does nothing. You just can't get dueled. And then the Plantar Pocket's like really good now because they buffed magic resistance to 75%, where before it was just kind of this weird awkward thing. Axe is still good. This hero also, it's broken. Like this spell is broken. It says chance to bash 17%. It's lying to you. It's lying to you. I'm telling you right now, that's a lie. It's 100% a lie. I just played against a Spirit Breaker in the offlane who 3 times in a row charged me and then first hit bashed me in the lane. Like, what? How? How is that possible? What's going on? Like, what? What are the chances? Like, statistically, what are the chances of that? It's just so low that it happened 3 times in a row. I mean, obviously, it's like 3 bashes in a row, but it's so weird. I just don't think this hero has... I swear it's like 35%, and they're just lying to us. But anyway, Spirit Breaker's good all around. Just super high buffed hero. Does everything you want. Very, very annoying to deal with. So that's S tier. Next, we have A tier, Doom. It's just Doom, honestly. He's been around forever. He's just so good for the reason that Doom is good. But the thing that he also benefits from is that Octarine, like Vanguard into Octarine. Now you can just go Vanguard, so you just don't die in the lane. And then you just like free farm. You have your free farm spell. You buy Midas because like what are they going to do? Make you not buy Midas? You can do whatever you want. And then by level 6, because you just lane and there's nothing they can do, you just like kill the support or kill the carry. It's like they can't be near you as long as your team is like semi-competent and not just like letting the guy run away or whatever. Like, you know, if you have semi-competent teammates at all, you're just going to get Doom kills off cooldown. And now you just have this Octarine that you just build into, Octarine Blink BKB. And you just have super low cooldown Doom running around, highest net worth in the game, like insane laning stage. and what are they going to do? Like, that's Doom. Honestly, it's that simple. Hard to kill because of the Vanguard, and then the Octarine, low cooldowns, and now you're running around highest net worth, low cooldowns, you Doom people. That's going to be good. And then the other thing, too, is I think people underestimate the Infernal Blade, like with the Octarine. Like, dude, your Infernal Blade stunning people and like putting that on people every like 2 seconds. It's insane. It's like every other attack is Infernal Blade, which is crazy. Next, we have Axe. Axe is one that I would say is probably like controversially up here. It's not necessarily this good. Probably be a tier lower in like high MMR pubs, but for normal, like average, everyday pubs, like as a tier list that I'm making, Axe is insane. I think it's so good. I think it's better than it ever has been. Or not, maybe not ever. I mean, there was that patch when it was really good when like he went Manta and stuff. I just think this hero's like really, really good right now. You can pretty much guarantee free farm, and that's kind of the thing with this hero is these Vanguard builders are really good. It's also really good to buy Vanguard and like disassemble it later into Octarine. He doesn't necessarily go that first because you're going to go Blink and other stuff like that, but Blade Mail with that Vanguard as well. But the reason why I say you just auto free farm is because, you know, you can lane on the first levels pretty well, and then after that, I mean, you can either cut if you're able to cut the wave, you can cut the wave. There's like 50,000 camps on the map. So like if if they're just keeping 2 heroes, like the support and the carry, if they're just keeping 2 heroes in your lane, you're like, okay, I'm just going to jungle, and you just get just as much net worth. And then if they ever leave, you just cut and then take the tower, and there's just nothing they can do against you. So you just, from my experience, at least in lower MMRs, since people are not good, you just are guaranteed this like Blink Blade Mail timing. That's ridiculous. It's just so hard for people to deal with. And I think overall the Blink call and just the tankiness that this hero offers and all the different things this hero offers, especially if you get a bunch of alt kills these days, and then you can also go the Ags build and stuff like that later on with the Octarine, etc. It's very, very hard to deal with. Now, I have had games, there are games where if you don't snowball, if you can't farm, if they really pressure you hard, if it can be kind of annoying against certain matchups, but I still think it's really, really good for pubs. Timbersaw, pretty good, just because, you know, universal hero. All universal heroes are good. I think it seemed like they nerfed him a good bit, but I think just universal heroes overall are really good. He can like right click, which is crazy. I've seen people try to go like right click damage builds with him. It didn't really work, but I just think overall, if you're a Timber player, he's pretty good right now, and you can be. I think you've always been able to be decent with him in like pubs. He's just always decent, no matter even if they nerf him. But now overall, gets super tanky, has a lot of stats, is a universal hero. Marcy, I don't really see her being played a lot, but she has a decent win rate when she's picked. You know, she's not picked a bunch. She's one of these heroes that just kind of fell off and just disappeared. But she can still be played and can still be viable if you pick her in the offlane. I mean, when she is picked, she is winning. So she's just decent there. Just I don't see her a lot in my pubs. It just the like I said, the pro stats or the higher MMR stats say she's decent. Pango probably better as a mid, but you can get away with playing him offlane. It's just that sometimes you might have bad lanes. That just kind of Pango offlane's typical thing is you might have bad lanes in the beginning. He's not really a threat that much until he gets later levels. Like sometimes it can be hard to kill him because he has a good escape. He has a shield crash, which makes him tanky. He can secure CS, but otherwise you're not like a Legion where like a Legion standing in the wave. If you're a melee hero, like you just can't approach the Legion because he's just gonna click his Q, attack you, like get those extra attacks in with the with his E, with his passive, where Pango's it's just not a threat. So you're kind of like, it's the same reason why I'll get to Darkseer in a second, why I put Darkseer always way lower than what people would say is because Darkseer just gives the enemy a free lane. It's kind of like how Pango does, but otherwise Pango's really good in the game. Another universal hero. Omni Knight, I'm just putting like Omni Knight up here because I kind of want this hero to be good because it'd be like cool if we saw more Omni Knight because we like never see this hero. This hero's been dead for like a decade. And it's just becoming more of a core, and the win rate says that it's this good. I haven't seen much of it, so I can't really speak to how great it is overall, but I think it's pretty good, and the win rate says that it's decent. I think they've had like a 56% win rate or something crazy. Again, not picked a lot, but still pretty good. Then we have Magnus, we have Void Spirit, we have Wind Ranger, we have Winter Wyvern. We have 4 universal heroes that do universal hero things that you saw pretty much on the carry tier list, on the mid tier list, and now you see them on the offlane tier list. Meaning they play pretty much every core role. I think Winter Wyvern was the only one that didn't play every single one because Winter Wyvern didn't play carry. But I mean, you probably could play carry Winter Wyvern, to be honest. But yeah, I'm not going to talk about them anymore. They're universal heroes. They are insanely good. Their stats are ridiculous. They don't need to do anything but buy stats and like crit or minus armor, and they just carry the game because they just get so much damage, and now they're so tanky, and you don't have to rely on like spells or anything anymore. So those are universal heroes. Go watch the other videos if you want to know about them. It's just like, honestly at this point, it's just redundant to keep harping on how broken universal heroes are. It's mainly the damage that they get from all the stats. So they can just build straight up stats, and just benefits them to build stats, and then they get tanky. They do right click damage, and then they can buy minus armor, crit, that kind of stuff. And then with like Magnus, you're amping up your own damage. You know, Void Spirit, you play like aggressive with your ult, and you don't have to rely on spells. This guy just deletes people. This guy's super annoying, percentage based damage, and can hit people in his ult, that kind of stuff. So that's A tier, all really good picks. B tier, kind of just middle of the road average. Darkseer, garbage hero. I hate him, but I mean, hey, I'll put him at B tier. But this is the hero I've always said. Darkseer fans are going to hate me, and they always probably do, but this hero is a hero for players that don't like to play Dota. They just want to Ion Shell the wave and walk away, because this hero doesn't do anything. It just Ion Shells the wave, and then it presses Run Away. His spell Run Away, that's what it's called. He presses that when he gets scared, and when he's forced to play Dota, he presses the Run Away spell, then he runs away. And that's all you do. And then later in the game, you just hope and pray that it's 30-40 minutes of the game, you got items, because all you did was press Ion Shell and run away. And then suddenly, you just press Wall, and then everybody dies. And that's all you do. That's the hero. It's not hard. That's all the hero does. Obviously, I'm a little bit memeing, but kind of. That's kind of true. Like, I love when the enemy picks Darkseer, because it's just like free farm, easy game. Like, it's just so easy. Veno, it just doesn't feel like this hero is I have to stomp the lane with the Gale and like pressure with the wards, and then late game, if I'm not snowballing, late game I just press R and that's all I do. This hero doesn't feel like that anymore. It feels more like, you know, you actually have an ability to be annoying all the time with like the damage over time. The dot spells is not just sacrifice yourself and go in. You can from range now with the way they changed the ult and everything. You can actually just like be the same kind of annoying damage over time hero, but from range without sacrificing yourself. So you're not like heavily 100% relying on snowballing the game. You can still snowball the game. You can still do really well. It's still all the same things that you did before. But I think the biggest thing is, like I said, you don't have to self-sacrifice to actually get the usefulness. And it's almost like a Queen of Pain in a way, where like if the thing is dispelled on Queen of Pain, it goes to everybody else around you. It's kind of the same thing with like Veno with the ult and stuff, is like, you know, it encourages the enemy to like run away from each other, because otherwise it's going to go to everyone else, and then it's just going to plague them. And then the enemy is sitting back and just like can do it a bunch, because I believe, yeah, I mean, it is a high cooldown, but you know what I mean. It's like, and then he has this spell which can stun you, which is pretty good, and the Poison Nova, which is the I believe that's the Ags too, which you can get. So that's something that does exist, and you can get it. So anyway, that's Venomancer. Pretty good right now. I don't think he's the best. I don't like love him. He still has his weaknesses. Beastmaster and Lycan, I'm just putting these guys together because it's just like, I think middle of the road now. You can still go with the creep people, the creep dudes, the army, the minions running around with your Helm of the Overlord or whatever, and just getting an ancient creep and just running at people. I mean, it depends on the game, obviously. Sometimes these heroes feel bad, but you know, they can just like die quickly. Their little summons can die quickly. Their little army can. But then sometimes like Lycan's just running around free farm, just melting people, just like melting supports, and then Beastmaster's just like super annoying at times. I think these heroes just seem to be like always middle of the road. Either they're like broken or just like they're here. That just seems like how they always are. And unless they just giga nerf summons in general or something, it just doesn't feel like they're ever going to go away. At least they don't have Necrobook. That sucks. Necrobook's terrible, and I'm glad it's gone. And Wraithback, glad that's gone too. Mars, another one that's like, he just seems to always be okay. I mean, sometimes his win rate's like terrible, but people can still be good with him. And he's just middle of the road, decent team fight. All the same reasons that Mars is okay. He's okay this patch too. I mean, he was nerfed a lot, and then I think they gave him some love recently because he was kind of in the dumpster for a little bit. So they gave him some love, which brought him back, but there's nothing crazy different from what Mars does usually. And then Undying has gotten, I think, buffs recently, and his ultimate feels pretty crazy. Like, I think what was it, like, obviously it's been a little bit, but a few patches ago he was like offlane and it was crazy, and he had, you know, his ultimate, he would just like giga slow you and just be punching you to death. And then they buffed his Q, his decay to be just like super overpowered. Now the same thing is true. It's just the same thing as it was before. It just wasn't. It's not exactly broken like it was, 6 months ago or whenever that patch happened. I think it was like December or November, whenever it was. So he's still kind of the same, and he still can be broken. He still can be offlane. I'm not seeing him picked as much, but when he is picked offlane, it is a good game. I mean, he can be good, and he does own. And then Viper's similar. I don't see him very much, but if you need the break against certain heroes, it is very good, and he can still dominate lanes from the offlane. Bounty's kind of like this weird hero where it feels better as a support kind of, because from the offlane, you just feel awkward. Because you need to snowball, you need to get your items, and you need to be able to just like go in. Because if you aren't going in, like who's going to go in, and you're not really this tanky guy, like a lot of offlaners are, this is a tanky initiator. Now you can just run in, you can stun people, track them, get a lot of gold, that kind of stuff, but you really need to be far ahead and own your lane, so that's why it feels awkward. But overall, Bounty Hunter's pretty good right now, so it's like he can still be viably played as an offlane. It's just that you have to be careful, because if you don't have a good lane, if your matchups aren't good, if you just like are forced to sit back and just throw Qs and like you can't even like run at the supports, then you're just going to lose, to be honest. Like it's a kind of all or nothing. Dawnbreaker, again, not played as much as she used to be, but is still pretty viable. I mean, she does the same thing she always did, just kind of middle-of-the-road average. A lot of these heroes, there's really nothing new about them, as you can see. I mean, like, Venno is the only one that's really gotten any love that, like, really put him up and far away above everyone else. In terms of this hero was trash, now it's like, okay. The rest of these were either really good and then just kind of came down when everything else got buffed, or didn't really change much, maybe got some buffs here, there, some nerfs here, there, but just now, like, kind of sitting middle of the road, and that's Dawnbreaker too. And then lastly, we have Pudge. It's kind of like a meme hero, obviously, but I think it's still pretty viable as an offlane. Again, you can have a bad lane. There are heroes like Slark, like Monkey. There are a lot of like aggressive and sustaining carry heroes right now that Pudge can have a bad lane against early. But if you do snowball, if you can get your items, this is still viable. I think it's probably the best core position that he has right now. I think he is probably better as a 4 position since they changed the hook speed, but still a decent hero. And I just like when Pudge is good. Everyone does. I think it's like annoying when you get hooked, but it's just fun that this hero exists, I think. C tier, we just have a lot of heroes that just have fallen off a lot. Tidehunter is okay, but he doesn't really benefit from the Vanguard. I mean, he used to be buying it before, but they did nerf Vanguard a little bit. And now it just feels like, do I really want to buy Vanguard on Tide? Not really. It just feels awkward, And they did have, like, so I haven't mentioned as much for a lot of these guys because they did nerf it a lot, but the meta was buying Greaves and Pipe and all the auras, just buy auras. And they nerfed that pretty heavily, like in the C patch or whatever, because that's how, like basically what the meta was in the first 7.33 patch. And they nerfed that a lot. So now the heroes that's all they do are just not as good. So like Tide, not as good. Underlord, same thing. He's kind of one of these just like aura builders that just like has good control, but they nerfed that a lot. So it just feels weird. Like, yeah, buy Greaves and all this stuff, but Pipe, whatever. Just not as good. Necro is sort of like that, but not really. It's just more like he's an all-in kind of hero. He can have really bad lanes against some of these aggressive heroes. Like, it just, early on, you can just run him down. He just does nothing. Like, with his first few spells are just trash. But if you have a good lane, and in pubs you can have a good lane a lot of times, the hero can stomp. The hero can stomp, be very, very good. It's just that you have to be careful early on, and then you can have shit lanes. And if you have a shit lane, you might have a shit game. Death Prophet, I talked about that as a mid hero. Just not great. It's okay, decent. You could still play it. It's still viable, but just kind of feels like it disappeared. There's nothing special about it, honestly. It just does what Death Prophet has always done, and it's not nearly as good as some of these other broken things. Chaos Knight, I think he's like okay now as an offlane, where he was probably like F tier, I think, before. Like, he was really good, then they nerfed him a bunch, and he just dropped to nothing. And now he's back to some extent where you can get away with picking him offlane because he has a stun. He does, the same reason he became an offlaner to begin with. He does those same things, but now I think because one, skirmishing is good. He's good at skirmishing. Like, if you have a decent lane, he's good at skirmishing. And then you also have enough farm on the map with the camps and stuff that you can kind of play carry from the offlane. There's really no problem with that. It's why something like Axe, who I think can get a lot of farm, like, you're not stealing farm from anybody to just like go to an ancient camp, really, honestly. So same thing with Chaos Knight. Again, you can have bad lanes though. That definitely is true against like Slark and stuff like that. I think this hero can have bad lanes. I mean, It's hard for me to say because I'm like pretty good at Slark and I just stomp all these games that I'm playing with him. But so if I like any melee hero that's not like broken, I just feel like it's food. Snapfire, universal. I already said that before when I said Snapfire was mid. So Snapfire can be off lane because you're universal. So you're pretty good overall because of that. I think that's the only real reason this hero is semi-viable as a core. Venge is just like okay as an off lane. I don't know. I just put Venge here because the statistics said she was decent. Now, like in pros at least, but I never see it being played. Like it gets picked once, like ever. It just has so few games getting picked. That makes me think it's pretty bad. I mean, you could put it probably in D tier. You could maybe even put it in F tier, like don't pick this hero. I just never see it being played. It's more of a support probably, but I think you could make it be viable. I mean, it is a universal hero. It's just like the one universal hero that feels like, oh, maybe we could do something with this hero, like make it a core, and it just like never comes to fruition, even when it was agility. But yeah, that's Venge. Visage, just pretty bad, but if you were going to play Visage, you'd probably play it from the off lane, just overall pretty bad. And then Nyx is like a broken hero, but I just hate when you play this hero off lane because, I don't know, now you have this off laner that's like running around invis and like soloing people, but then otherwise just does nothing in the fight, and it just feels bad. It's just like, okay, great, you killed one guy, but you're our off laner, dude. Like, we have no front line. So unless you have like really tanky cores, like a really tanky mid or a really tanky carry, that's not really like the heroes that are good mid are not really like these tanky go-in kind of guys, like the spirit heroes and stuff. You're not like playing tiny mid and you know, that kind of thing. So it just feels like Nyx being your offlane is just trash. I just feel like it's its worst position, even though this hero is like giga broken right now. Real quick, just to cut in here, I'm doing this after the fact, and I realized I actually forgot to add Medusa to the offlane list. I had her pretty much on every other list, but Medusa offlane was kind of a thing that came about in the last major, I believe, and it has been nerfed obviously since then. I don't think it's as popular or it's as good as it, you know, was, and that's why I'm putting it down here in C tier. I think you can still pick it. It's just not nearly what it was. I also think some people just like don't get what you're actually supposed to do. I think mainly when you play this as like a offlane or as a support, you're supposed to just build like the snake build and then maybe later go in for the, you know, damage and stuff like that, but pretty much going for snake build like phylactery and then for ags and shard and stuff like that. And that's mainly what you're going to be doing. And the other problem is you kind of have to guarantee that there's no diffusal builder, where a lot of obviously good heroes like Slark, like Pango, they're going to build diffusal these days now, and everyone knows how to counter Medusa, where I think back when it first was getting popular, it just people didn't know what to do against it, but now people kind of understand what's going on with the hero. And if you play it off lane or support, it just feels like they just ignore you. And that's why if you do get, you know, the snake, if you do get, I mean, the shard with the snake and the ag scepter for the snake, that makes it better. But until you get to the point where you're actually doing damage with your right clicks, they can just ignore you and kill the rest of your team, which is kind of the problem. So anyway, that's Medusa. Now we can go back to the rest of the list. And then last of like the semi-pickable heroes is D tier. Centaur, it's just like, dude, I want this hero to be good because it's like a tanky, cool hero that stuns and stuff. But, you know, it's just like the typical offlane hero, but it's always trash. It's just always so bad. And it does nothing. Like, it just doesn't do anything. It's like you're tanky, but like, who cares? It's like the problem. And then you have the stupid cart ability that nobody, it's just like the dumbest thing. It's like whoever was patching this before Ice Frog came back and did 7.33 was just like, I'm going to go out on a meme and just put this stupid thing in there and see how long it lasts. So I don't know. That's Centaur. Sand King, I feel like I want Sand King to be good in the sense of like that Sandstorm, like cheap stun within the Sandstorm thing is like broken sometimes. It feels super annoying. It seems kind of cool. But otherwise, I just think it's like bad. I mean, the hero with dust like giga counters this hero. That's the problem. Is like before you could be dusted and then like Yules or something, you know, or not Octarine. Oh yeah, what is the one? Now I'm an idiot. I'm gonna do this again. I did this other time too. Lotus. Yeah, I didn't even need to see it. Yeah, you could like Lotus, dust or Yules or anything like that, you know. But now you can't. Like you just hit Sandstorm and they just press dust and you're just like, there's nothing you can do. I think that's the biggest problem with the hero now. Is there's just nothing you can do with the dust change. That's why it's so bad. If it wasn't for the dust change, I legit think it would be like A tier. Slardar, bad hero. It feels bad. Like, you're this weird, like, aggressive hero in lane, but actually, sometimes you're just not as aggressive as you think you could be. Like, sometimes you're like, oh, I want to punch him, but then you just, like, can't because we have, like, a Monkey King punching you from further away and it's actually better at punching. But yeah, overall just not great. Night Stalker also pretty bad, just not a great hero overall right now. Just kind of feels like, you know, what does this hero do that other heroes don't do better? And there's nothing special about him. He just feels pretty weak. We have Bristleback. Primal Beast here, fell off completely. No one picks this hero, got nerfed, was like pretty popular for a long time, just fell off completely. And then we have Bristleback. Another thing, this hero's like deleted. You can still play him from the offlane. You can still buy ags and stuff. It just feels super bad. Enigma finally got killed, thankfully. This hero was so good for so long, getting picked like first picked all the time in majors and stuff, but now with the new patch just fell off, which is great to see. Brewmaster pretty bad ever since they changed the ags. I mean, like, the new ags is kind of like whatever, but, you know, it is what it is. I think it might be good. They're probably going to change the hero again, to be honest. Broodmother, thank God it sucks. It's terrible. Thank goodness for that, because Broodmother is so annoying when it is played. And then lastly, we have F tier. Tusk just like deleted as a hero. It was good, and now it just like disappeared. Definitely not an offlane. If anything, maybe support, but still not good. Nature's Prophet, deleted as a hero. Razor, deleted as a hero. Dragonite, deleted as a hero. And then Phoenix, just not, probably more of a support. Just not a good offlane. Doesn't scale. I mean, it scales with items, but just feels like bad as an offlane because you don't have like any real inherent stun. It's like you can do the same thing from 4th position as you can from offlane. We have OD, not an offlane. Just don't pick this hero offlane. Like the whole like meme hammer build and everything like that. It's just not that. It's not a thing. There's better heroes to like carry from the offlane, like Legion. And then Huskar, again, not an offlane. So like a lot of these heroes just like not offlanes. So that is my 7.33c offlane tier list. As always, guys, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.